Has been a running item of our coverage since last Saturday night. For the past 2 nights, the men have taken the stage, and they do it again tonight.
We'll show you a star-studded field take aim at 3 gold medals up for grabs in the individual apparatus competition tonight. Our eyes and ears at the scene are Bart Connor and Kathy Johnson.
Last night in the men's all-around competition here in St. Petersburg, it was the youngest competitor in the event, Alexei Nemov, who tumbled his way to the gold in the all-around, leading a sweep from the Russians, gold, silver, and bronze. Well, tonight we're back here at the Lenin Sport and Concert Complex. Tonight it's the men's gymnastics individual event finals. Hi everyone, I'm Bart Connor, and tonight we're going to have an opportunity to see once again 18-year-old Alexei Nemov, the new star of Russian gymnastics, as well as the former world champion Grigory Misyutin from Ukraine. Joining me is Kathy Johnson. Now, Kathy, we thought Grigory was going to have a great competition. He looked good in the early rounds, but had a really strange mistake and fell all the way down to 4th place.
He was well on his way to winning the all-around competition last night when halfway through the 4th rotation on the parallel bars, the strangest thing happened. He had a beautiful routine going with amazing difficulty, great amplitude, and then watch this. His left arm just buckled underneath him, and no one was more shocked than he was. It threw him off. He had a little trouble on the high bar, but then came back very, very strong on the floor exercise, finished 4th in the all-around, and it's on floor that he should provide one of the most exciting moments of tonight's competition. He could absolutely win a gold there.
Now let's talk about the Americans. There are 3 Americans in the finals: Drew Durbin, Cheney Humphrey, and Scott Keswick. Scott did not do well in the all-around, but he has a legitimate chance at a medal on the rings, maybe even gold today.
Well, he's 3-time national champion on the rings, and he's been in the finals at the World Championships, so the judges here are very well aware of his potential. He has amazing strength, a great level of difficulty. In fact, probably the most difficult dismount in the competition. So he has a shot at gold here.
Once again, the top 8 gymnasts qualified into this competition from the team event. No more than 2 gymnasts from any one country can compete here tonight. And no scores carry over from the preliminary rounds. It's new life. Tonight we'll see the floor exercise, the pommel horse, and the rings. And then tomorrow night, we'll see the vault, parallel bars, and horizontal bars. First up in tonight's competition, Dmitry Vasilenko, only 18 years old, from Russia, was 6th in the all-around in the preliminaries here. He's on the floor.
He won a silver medal at the recent European Championships on this event. Very strong here.
It's kind of a shame for this young man because he's so talented. The Russians took 1, 2, 3 in the all-around, but according to the rules, only 3 can qualify to the finals. He was 6th in the preliminaries, but he was the 4th Russian, so got eliminated. So this is his day to shine, perhaps, in the individual event finals.
Now watch this pass right here, down the side of the floor with very few steps. A double front.
Amazing.
And that's a pass we're beginning to see more and more often because it gains bonus points from the judges, combining 3 layout front somersaults and 1 with the twist.
So far, an excellent routine. A lot of difficulty.
And great landings. That's the key to winning a medal. It's tough to win a medal going first, but it has been done.
It seems like the judges need to get warmed up as well as the gymnasts, but this move was spectacular.
Usually you see it down the center of the floor where more steps can be taken or even additional front handsprings to get more momentum. This is nice difficulty at the end of the routine, a full twisting double back, but the most important part is right here, the landing.
Won 5 medals at the European Championships in '93, 2 of them gold, when he was just 17 years old. So the Russians continue to produce wonderful young talent in men's gymnastics. 9.65, the score for Vasilenko. The first to go. It's tough to get a score that high in the finals. And yet he got everyone off to a good start there. Now the star of the all-around competition, Alexei Nemov.
And he really opens with a very beautiful pass. It's a double layout with a full twist on the second somersault. And he does it with ease.
You'll notice at 5'8", 155 pounds, he's Pretty tall and pretty large for a male gymnast.
He managed to stay in bounds there yesterday in the all-around competition. He stepped out of bounds.
The program in Russia seems to really be strong still. Some of the other former Soviet republics have had trouble with money and funding their athletes, but Leonid Arkayev, who has been the orchestrator of the great program from the former Soviet Union, is in Russia and continuing to manage to develop really outstanding gymnasts.
Both men and in women's gymnastics. Beautiful double pike somersault. There's certainly more difficult dismounts, but when you do it that well, it really stands out.
Let's talk about the mechanics, because not only are they popular, are they powerful, excuse me, but the technique is amazing.
It has to be perfect when you're this tall, Bart. That skill should almost be out of bounds for him at 5'8", and yet he does it with ease. And this is just beautiful. Pointed toes, perfectly straight legs, just a tiny hop on the landing.
9.75, the score for Nemov. So the two Russians, 9.65 and 9.75, the first two performers here in the finals. Now Grigory Misyutin, one of the best in the world on the floor, a favorite here to win the gold.
He is so elegant, along with great power. The same mount we saw from Alexei Nemov. And a very similar path, of course, without the full twist on the third element.
Silver medalist in Barcelona at the Olympics on this event. Says his favorite gymnast of all time is Nikolai Andrianov, the famous Russian gymnast who won 15 medals in Olympic and world competition.
Oh, a perfect landing on a very difficult dismount, double layout. These scores are going to be very, very close.
You talk about the importance of landings in the finals. He has all the difficulty, but he really seemed to be fighting for this landing, especially on the mount.
Absolutely. Look at this. He's really struggling to keep his feet planted into the ground. Does a nice job. Here's the front tumbling that we're seeing so much more of in men's and women's gymnastics. Two front layouts into the third layout front. And a key to winning a medal, of course, sticking every single landing.
9.75, the score for Grigory Misyutin, which ties him for the lead at the moment with Alexei Nemov. Next on the floor, this is Takashi Chinen from Japan. He's competing here. He was a reserve. Originally, Scott Keswick from the United States was to compete in the finals on the floor, but has withdrawn. Said his leg is bothering him. He's hoping to save his energy for a strong performance in the rings, which will be later on this evening. Chinen competed in the Olympics in Barcelona. The Japanese team won the bronze medal there.
You can see he doesn't quite have the level of difficulty as a couple of the preceding routines. He started his floor exercise with a full twisting double back. We've seen that at the end of the routine of the leader, Alexei Nemov.
It's interesting, he's 27 years old, almost 10 years older than Nemov and Vasilenko. Typical of the Japanese team, many of their gymnasts start later and are brought to the international scene at a much later age.
Actually, I have to correct myself. Vasilenko did the full in. We've seen double layouts at the end of end of the routine. He comes up with another full twisting double back. Strong finish for him, but still not really the level of difficulty. He repeated the last pass, just as his opening pass. You really need to see the laid out tumbling passes.
You know, it's interesting in Japan. Many of these gymnasts are sponsored by companies that are interested in gymnastics. He works for the Kawaii Music Company, and he works part-time during the day and trains in the afternoons, and they sponsor his training and his preparation for the Japanese team. 9.1 the score for Takashi Chinen. More gymnastics to come. It's the men's individual event finals. We're on the floor exercise. The first event. This is Paolo Bucci. The leaders, Alexei Nemov and Grigory Misyutin, tied for first with a 9.75.
Notice how he's not quite as sharp. Slightly bent legs on the front layouts, little hops on the landing. Certainly not major breaks by any means. Tiny little deductions that add up.
Last summer, the Italian team came to the United States and won the team competition at the World University Games in Buffalo, beating some great teams from the U.S., China, Russia.
And Paolo Bucci has been around a long time, member of the national team since 1984. You really got to hand it to him, Bart, for staying in this sport when it progresses so rapidly. And he's hanging in there with the young guy. Nice job.
Not bad for the 26-year-old competing against. You're right, as the sport improves, the techniques are much better, and so a gymnast who's 26 years old really can't compete against an 18-year-old who has the benefit of new training techniques and new strength and conditioning techniques as well.
At least the equipment is getting better and better. The floor mats are livelier. All of the equipment, they improve. Makes it a little easier.
The score for Paolo Bucci, a 9.0. Now up on the floor, this is Vitaly Rudnitsky. He's 19 years old, from Belarus.
He competed for Belarus in the European Championships just recently, where they won the team competition. Beautiful double layout.
He landed standing straight up and down. That was impressive.
He's over the line. He just went out of bounds, standing there preparing for his tumbling run.
I didn't see the light come on.
It did come on.
It did, huh? So he'll lose 1/10 of a point. He actually landed perfectly and then just stepped back out of bounds.
It took the line judge had to lean forward and look very closely, and that's what drew my attention over to see if the light went on, and it sure went on. So that's 1/10 of a point off.
The floor area is 40 feet by 40 feet. The routine lasts between 50 and 70 seconds. The gymnast has to show front tumbling and back tumbling. That bell signals that he has 20 seconds to complete the exercise. Nice flexibility.
That is gorgeous. You don't usually see that in men's gymnastics. They just fulfill the requirement and get tumbling. Very nice routine. Unfortunately, that 1/10 of a point off for just standing out of bounds is going to cost him.
Let's take a look at what happened here.
He lands in bounds. There's no trouble here at all. There's a great landing, but then when he steps back to prepare for the tumbling run, this is a stupid mistake, unfortunately.
This is the kind of thing where your coach just kills you. What are you doing walking out of bounds there?
This is beautiful. Very few gymnasts can lift their leg to that height, maintain the balance. This is what the judges had in mind when they when they continue to keep this as a requirement.
9.625, the score for Vitaly Rudnitsky. That will put him in 4th place at the point. The leaders, Nemov and Misyutin, have 9.75s. The score, as you see there, 9.525 for Rudnitsky. He had a 9.625, but the judges deducted 1/10 of a point for stepping out of bounds. Right now, that puts him in 4th place. Drew Durbin from the United States. Had a great competition in the team event here. Comes from Ohio State University.
The top American during the team competition, but did not compete in the all-around, though he had qualified because he's having back trouble and in fact has some numbness down his leg. They were very concerned. And then today he woke up and felt better. The doctor looked at him and thought that they could at least go the couple of events today. That wouldn't be too difficult or risky.
This is really his first major international competition. He's 20 years old. He was born, oh no, out of bounds it looked like.
Yes, the light went off.
He was born in Vietnam, adopted by a family in the United States. Very talented. We're going to see him on the pommel horse where he is really spectacular. Oh.
This is really one of his weaker events. And as you said, we're going to see him on one of his stronger events later, the pommel horse.
Now you can see him when he walks off. He's kind of shaking his right leg a little bit. It's as if he is dealing with that numbness in the right leg.
I would say this would be the toughest event to perform on if you've got any numbness or any kind of back problem, especially that takes away some of the strength in the lower body.
It's a pretty tough kid. His coach, Peter Corman from Ohio State, said he was a little bit worried about him, but Drew says, I want to go. I can do it.
He's so excited to be in his biggest competition ever and did such a great job, handled a lot of pressure, and helped the U.S. to a bronze medal in the team competition.
Well, he will not score very well in that routine. But as we mentioned, we're going to get a chance to see him on the pommel horse where he excels and has an outside shot at a medal there for the U.S. Once again, the leaders, Namath and Misyutin with 9.75s. Drew Durbin will not have a score in that range.
Lots of pain.
You hear him say lots of pain to his coach, Peter Corman. The other night after the team competition, they said he could hardly sleep because he was dealing with this radiating pain in his right leg. As you see, the score an 8.7 for Drew Durbin. It was an 8.8, but he did go out of bounds and lost a tenth of a point. So an 8.7. So the winners are Alexei Namath and Grigory Misyutin with a 9.7 will tie for the gold. And Dmitry Vasilenko with a 9.65 will earn the bronze. Coming up, the pommel horse. Welcome back to the men's gymnastics event finals here in St. Petersburg. Bart Connor along with Kathy Johnson. We are getting ready now for the second of 3 events that we're going to see in tonight's finals. This will be the pommel horse. The team from Russia dominating the competition to this point. This is Giovanni Innocenzo from Italy on the pommel horse. The top 8 individual qualifiers will compete here. No scores carry over from the preliminary rounds. He had a 9.25 in the preliminary rounds. Little sloppy form, but he does have good body line in the circling movements.
Very solid routine for him. A good routine to start off the finals, too. He doesn't have a shot for a medal, but it was a solid routine.
The judges require the gymnast to work all 3 sections of the horse. He does the dismount from the end, through the handstand, and a pirouette off. 9.3 the score for Innocenzo from Italy. Now up a big moment for this young man from the United States. This is Drew Durbin out of Ohio State. We saw him in the floor exercise, but this, the pommel horse, is his best event. He has a ton of difficulty in this exercise. Let's see if he can hit it today. This is his first major international event, and he's really competed very well here. Beautiful form. good for Drew Durbin.
What a great experience, Bart. He has competed so well here at the Goodwill Games. In the team competition, he was the top American.
As you mentioned, he's been having trouble with his lower back, causing some numbness in his right leg. It certainly didn't affect him here. This routine was world class.
A lot of pressure here, too, for him. First major international competition, and to make the finals, he made it in 3 events, and here on the pommel horse, where the pressure really can get to you.
So the score for Drew Durbin, a 9.4. The youngest guy on the U.S. national team does well, but I think it's going to take more than that to get a medal here in the finals. This is the all-around champion. He also won a gold and a tie on the floor exercise, so a gold with the team competition. This young man has 3 gold medals out of 3 available already today and throughout the Goodwill Games competition. Look at that sequence. Notice he's not touching the pommels, walking all the way across the horse, spinning in the flare, and then climbing up to the pommels.
I think that was better than in the all-around competition where he scored a 9.7.
And a kiss to the crowd. He's such a personable young man. He's really been outgoing and fun to see him in the workouts. What a gymnast. Look at the position. Notice he's not even touching the pommels as he flips and spins across the horse in this Thomas flare with what they call a spindle. Notice he twists his body back against the direction of those circles. Boy, that's great stuff. He works out 3 times a day. You hear athletes who say they're doing 2 a days. Well, how about doing 3 a days? He does an hour of training in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon, and a couple more hours in the evening. No wonder he's the champion here. We'll be back with his score on the pommel horse in a moment. Back to gymnastics competition here at the Goodwill Games. He already has 3 gold medals and on pace for maybe another one. The one man who may unseat him here is this young guy, Alexander Shostak, Belarus, the highest qualifier coming into these finals on the pommel horse. Notice how straight his body line is. Nice work in the flares, spindling, and up to the scissors. These single leg scissors are a requirement. Nice finish. It's going to be close. He had a couple of minor form breaks early in the routine, right at the beginning. Here's an interesting rule. The judges require that the gymnasts have no more than 40% of their routine done in the flare position. It's so exciting to see the gymnast do the exercise with the flares. But if the gymnast does more than 40% of the routine in that straddled circle position, there will be a deduction. 9.65, the score for Alexander Shostak. That will put him in 2nd place behind Alexei Nemov. On the pommel horse now, Andrei Khan. We saw him in the floor exercise earlier. On pace for perhaps a medal and blew it on the dismount. Let's see if he can hold it together here on the pommel horse.
Work on one pommel. Really has a nice straight. Oh no!
Oh, that's a shame.
Had such a great straight body line, then dropped his legs and dragged him across the horse. And again, right near the end of the routine, started off so strong.
So out of the two performances here today for Andre Kahn, really struggling. Ironically, the move that he was doing is called a Russian Moor. And you can see there, he had good hand placement. He just didn't have enough elevation and speed to have his legs clear the end of the horse. You know, most gymnasts would agree that this is the most difficult of the 6 men's events. It's very easy to fall. We'll be back with his score on the pommel horse here at the finals in a minute. Kahn. Yevgeny Shabayev now on the pommel horse from Russia. The Russians dominating this competition so far. Shabayev had a 9.65 in the preliminaries, which means if he could hit a routine here, he has a shot at the gold. Wonderful mount sequence. He's on that first pommel all day long. This is such a difficult event. You have to be up there about 45 seconds or so to get the bonus points from the judges. Sometimes the gymnast will go around the horse 4 or 5 times just to get 1/10 of bonus from the judges. Oh, no!
And it's so difficult on the upper body. There's no relief. Everything is arm strength throughout the entire routine. They fatigue at the end.
Oh, what a shame. Take a look at this mount. Notice how many times he goes around that pommel. 1, 2, 3, and so on. Before he reaches over to the other pommel, he's racking up just a bucket full of bonus points there. But as you mentioned, it shows up later in the routine when your arms feel like concrete weights. You can hardly lift your body. It was slightly out of balance and short of the handstand there, and has to just push it off. They will hit him pretty hard for that. You're supposed to go up through the handstand and off, over to the other side of the horse. 9.45, a disappointment because that routine was scored out of a perfect 10, and he had a major deduction on that last skill. Our leader, Alexei Nemov, already has 3 gold medals. Could he get 4? Well, this is the last person in this event. Actually, Grigory Misyutin, as good as he is, this is not his best event. Had a 9.575 in the preliminary. He won a gold medal on the floor in the first event tonight, and he's swinging very well in this pommel horse routine.
Wouldn't you like to be this good on your week event?
Let's take a look at this one pommel work. Notice how close his hands have to be together behind his back there to manage to support himself while he's swinging around. The pommel is only 5 inches off the horse and about 10 inches wide.
Just like the women's balance beam, there's no room for error whatsoever. The tiniest of mistakes.
Good dismount. Most gymnasts go up, straddle up to a handstand. Legs together. Nice finish. 9.7 the score for Grigory Misyutin, which means that he will tie for the gold on the pommel horse with Nemov, just as he tied for the gold on the floor with Nemov as well. So here are the final results in the pommel horse. Nemov and Misyutin will share the gold. Alexander Shostak wins the bronze. Nemov now has 4 gold medals at these Goodwill Games.
Boy, not much time to make a lot happen on the pommel horse, but some things never change.
They certainly don't. You know, politics do, and they have in this neck of the woods for sure. But, you know, nations that were once a part of the Soviet Union continue to dominate men's gymnastics, and it's just a tribute, I think, to all the work they've done over the years with their youngsters.
Right. We'll still see 1 more event tonight, 3 more tomorrow. The rings is still to come in gymnastics. Watch the action unfold.
Welcome back to the men's gymnastics event finals here in St. Petersburg. I'm Bart Connor along with Kathy Johnson. There will be 3 men's finals tonight. We've already seen the floor and the pommel horse. This is the third of those events. It will be the still rings. Once again, Alexei Nemov has tied for 2 gold medals with Grigory Misyutin. So both of them have 2 golds out of 2 available in tonight's competition. First up on the rings, Alexei Voropayev. Now, Voropayev was one of our favorites in the all-around competition. Won a bronze medal there. Excuse me, won the silver medal in the all-around competition. He was the top qualifier coming into the still rings, and yet he has to go up first. How much of a disadvantage is that, Kathy?
Well, with a gymnast with this type of reputation, it's not quite as bad. It's never lucky to go first, though.
He had a 9-8 in the preliminary rounds. The judges are looking for strength moves like that inverted iron cross and a press out to a handstand. There's a Maltese cross. Then the judges require the gymnast to swing to a handstand. Like that.
Picked up just a little bit of swing in the rings. Double layout with a full twist. Tiny little hop on the landing. I was going to say, in order to win, having gone first in the competition, you have to be so much better than everyone else. Nice laid out position, but he did have that little hop on the landing.
The score, 9.775 for Voropayev, the first to go up. That's the standard to beat. Now his biggest competition comes from this young man, Scott Keswick, 24 years old, from the United States. He's been a finalist before, as we said, in the World Championships. He has an outstanding routine. He was the second qualifier coming into these finals. It's a big moment for him. If he could hit a routine here, he could get the gold.
And the key elements in the routine, be getting in the proper position in all his strength moves, keeping the rings entirely still, and sticking his dismount, which, as I said at the beginning of the show, it's one of the most difficult dismounts in the entire competition.
Trains 6 days a week, 4 to 6 hours a day at UCLA. He's not had a good competition here, except on this event, the rings.
Beautiful inverted cross. He swings right back to another one. He needs complete control, and he's got it.
Great exercise so far. Here's that big dismount.
Double, double. One little step. Now it will depend on how many other gymnasts stick their dismounts and really rock the routine.
Good routine for Scott. Got married a couple of months ago to his friend from UCLA, Michelle Hunt. Been several years on the national team. Hopes to compete all the way through to the '96 Olympics. 9.7, the score for Scott Keswick. That puts him in second place at this point.
That would be 9-8, Coach.
You heard him say that would be 9-8, Coach. The other day in the preliminaries, his routine was scored from a base score of 10. Today, it was scored from a base of 9.9. I don't know exactly why. The judges being especially picky. So his score of a 9.7 would have been a 9.8 had he had a higher base score to begin with. Now, this is Grigory Misyutin. Has 2 gold medals, 1 in the floor and 1 in the pommel horse today. He tied with Nemov for those golds.
He has been very successful in this event at the World Championships and at the Olympic Games in Barcelona. Won silver medals. That's a nice combination.
He won 4 silver medals at the Barcelona Olympics, but few people remember Grigory Misyutin as much as they, of course, remember Vitaly Sherba, who won 6 golds in Barcelona. Sherba's not here. He's at home, considering shoulder surgery.
Beautiful position in the air on that dismount. No one has, as of yet, really stuck the dismount. You have tiny little hops.
You're right, and in the finals, it really comes down to who nails it. .9.6, the score for Grigory Misyutin. So he will be in third place after just 3 performers. Scott Keswick from the United States currently in second place. Now we're going to get a chance to see Cheney Humphrey, 24-year-old, trains at UCLA with Scott Keswick. You can see the huge shoulders and arms on Cheney. Very strong, and this is one of his best events. He's 5'6" and 165 pounds, so he needs to be that bulky and that strong to manage to do well with a 165-pound body, which is quite heavy for a gymnast at this level. Nice mount. The press to a Maltese. And a second Maltese, and he's in a little bit of a trouble there. He should have held that a little bit longer.
It's where the judges are really going to be picky. They want to see these strength elements held a little bit longer in order to give the bonus points and have the routine start from a 10. Full twisting double back. Good landing. I think he's happy with that routine.
He certainly is, and it'll be interesting to see what the judges do with that sequence there, because he was doing a Maltese cross. Gets congratulations from Art Sherlock, his coach there at UCLA. This mount is great. Back roll right around to an L cross. You can just imagine the amount of strain on the shoulders and elbows, and he does it easily. Now this is the Maltese. Rolls around, and he does the second Maltese, but he does not hold it very long. You need to hold that 2 seconds to get full credit.
All right, hey, Mom, Dad, Maria, Francis, Edward, Greg, Natalie. All right.
Well, we'll be back with Cheney Humphrey's score in a minute. Petersburg, we're halfway through the rings competition. The score for Cheney Humphrey, a 9.55, which at this point puts him in 4th. This is 22-year-old Dan Barinca from Romania. He's a bronze medalist at the World Championships on the still rings. One of the favorites in this event. He has a slight advantage in that he's going late up in this competition. Our leader was the first one to go, Voropayev. Scott Keswick from the U.S., currently in 2nd place. Barinca could affect the standings. Look at that mount. Back rolled across, pull out to a Maltese cross, and look at that. Swing to an inverted cross, a little shaky.
But he's in the exact position he wants to be in every single strength move.
The Romanians were a last-minute entry into these Goodwill games. They normally have holiday time during the summer. This year is an unusual year. 2 world championships, individual worlds in Australia in the spring, and coming up, the team worlds in Germany in the fall.
Very, very solid routine. Not the difficulty on the dismount, but throughout the routine, all of the strength. Just
You're right.
amazing.
He chose to get his bonus points from the judges through these strength moves. This is awesome. Back roll to an iron cross, and you say, perfect position, totally level across. And now he pulls out and then presses into a Maltese cross.
This is a solid dismount because he had all his bonus points taken care of early in the routine. He came out with a great landing.
9.8, the score for Dan Barinca from Romania, which puts him in 1st place at this point and drops Scott Keswick from the United States to 3rd.
Și-am plecat.
This is Dmitry Vasilenko, the final performer on the rings. Barinca has the lead, Voropayev 2nd, Scott Keswick in 3rd. If Vasilenko gets a good score here, he could bounce Scott Keswick out of the medal standings. He had a 9.525 in the preliminaries, so it's unlikely that he'll hit the routine of his life here, and I think he's in a little trouble. Fell out of that one strength element, made a good recovery.
Wow, he came up with a great landing. Almost looked like he was going to get hung up in the rings on the dismount. Notice there's a little hitch in the middle of the dismount, right in there, but he pulled it around.
The score, a 9.725 for Dmitry Vasilenko. So, by 25 thousandths of a point, Scott Keswick from the United States will not get a medal in his best event, the rings. Keswick gets fourth. As you can see there, the judges are discussing the score for Dmitry Vasilenko on the rings. There was a conflict with Scott Keswick's score. The judges have changed the score. So instead of Vasilenko getting a 9.725, he will get a 9.7, which means he will tie for the bronze medal with America's Scott Keswick in another bizarre turnaround with the scores here at the Goodwill Games. Dan Barinka from Romania will get the gold with a 9.8. Once again, here are the final results in the rings. Barinka gets the gold, Voropayev the silver, and after a strange manipulation of the scores, Scott Keswick will share the bronze with Dmitry Vasilenko. On the pommel horse, Alexei Nemov and Grigory Misyutin, they share the gold, Shostak the bronze. And on the floor exercise, Nemov and Misyutin once again share the gold. Vasilenko got the bronze. Alexei Nemov has 4 gold medals so far. The record in a single Goodwill Games for gold medals is 5 by Yuri Korolev. So Nemov tomorrow has a chance to set a new Goodwill Games record. He'll be in 2 more of the 3 event finals tomorrow, the vault, the parallel bars, and the horizontal bar. That's it for the men's event finals here in St. Petersburg for tonight. For Kathy Johnson, I'm Bart Connor. We'll see you tomorrow.
And so a strong performance by the Romanian on the rings, but a very pleasant surprise for the U.S.
Yeah, breakthrough individually. Scott Keswick of Las Vegas, Nevada, wins a piece of the bronze medal tonight, Fred. And the interesting thing about that, he had had shoulder problems resulting from too much work on the rings. He obviously struck the delicate balance tonight, though.
Yeah, the big payoff.
Yeah, it was. Now.